Thank you for joining us here on Real Voices. We appreciate your time and being here with us today, where we just seek to bring in the voices of real estate agents here in Phoenix and the metro area, and just get a chance to know them and sit down and chat with them. And today we have Junior Bernabe. Junior, tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you?
To be honest, this is the worst question people always ask me. Tell me about yourself, because it's such a hard thing to do, especially if you're not like a super talkative person. I started real estate like 5 years ago. That's something I'm passionate about. I'm from Haiti, moving to Jamaica, then moved here. I did different kind of work, but real estate really, it's kind of like a passion. I'm very not outgoing, but I find out when you do real estate, you have to be. So that's something I'm learning like right now. Yeah. Yeah.
So, who got you into the business, or who inspired you to get into the business?
Let's see. Tom Ferry. One day I was watching YouTube and I stumbled upon him, and I was miserable at my other job. But when I heard this guy talking, like, you should do this, you should do that, I'm like, I can do this. Why am I at this job that I don't like? So yeah, and I keep watching him. After 3 months, I'm like, I'm getting my license. So since then, I've been doing real estate. Yeah.
Awesome. Tom Ferry. I mean, everybody who's in the business pretty much knows who he is. So cool.
Yeah.
Tell me, what were you doing before when the job you were at that was making you so miserable?
So this is gonna make me sound terrible, but before that, I used to be a youth outreach coordinator.
Okay.
So kids that like in bad situation, I go to the neighborhood, try to recruit them to come to our youth center, and we help them with different social stuff. And
awesome.
I mean, I say I hate that job. I didn't hate the part of helping the kids. I just didn't like, because if you don't have the passion for the job, and especially something like that, that's not something you should stay into, you know? Yeah. But that's what I was doing before I do real estate.
Okay.
Yeah.
What got you into that particular line of work? What was it that made you want to do that?
Real estate?
No, working with the kids.
Oh, so my dad is a pastor.
Okay.
So I grew up doing that. Well, I grew up watching my dad doing that. So my dad and my mom, for 45 years, they travel around the Caribbean, different countries. Yeah, that's one thing I'm happy about. I get to visit all these islands and live in most of them. So yeah, for 45 years, that's all they do. At one point in my house, there was like 14 kids living there. Yes. So it was just natural, something to get into. And most of the people in the organization that I work with know my parents. And when I move here, they know I used to do that kind of work, and they hire me to do it.
Man,
That's how
awesome.
I get into it. Yeah.
14 kids, man. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Oh man.
So, where were you at in that hierarchy?
Let's see, maybe 10. Yeah. Yeah. But you know, the funny part about it, I love that experience. When it comes to sharing my space with people, it's not a big deal for me. I'm just so used to it. And yeah, and in real estate, that helped me. Actually, when I met a client, and they always say, "Oh, sorry, my kid is running around. Oh, sorry." I'm like, "Yeah, don't worry about that. I'm used to it. I'm used to it. It's not a big deal." Yeah. So
awesome,
yeah, that experience was a good experience. Yeah.
That's awesome. I always think about that. My mom was always interested in helping people that way too. We didn't always have kids in the house like that, but
yeah.
How did your parents like support? What was that like for you?
And that's a question I have for my parents all the time because with ministry, you don't have a salary.
Right.
And living in a third world country, it's, I always wonder, Mom, Dad, how did you get money to like feed all these people, all these kids, and send us to the best school you can find? I don't get it. So my parents always say, well, the Lord provide.
That's awesome.
I'm like, what that means? What does that mean? It's like, yeah, once you're willing to do something, the help and the resources will come. That's what my dad always said.
Awesome. Well, tell me, what, as a kid with all those 14 kids around, what inspired you? What made you want to be whatever you were going to be when you grow up? What was that?
So until like, let's see, 7 years ago, I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Okay.
But working with those kids, which is one reason I get into real estate too. Most of these parents, they have good job, and they're always renting and living in those crazy apartments and having all these issues. And I always ask them, why don't you guys buy a house? You have so many kids and you're living in an apartment like 1, 2 bedroom, and I can see you guys driving Cadillacs, Mercedes. Why don't you have a house? And they always say, oh, I don't know which way, I don't know how to start. So that was one thing too. I'm like, man, if I'm not gonna do this job to help these kids socially, I need to do something else, at least to like teach people, hey, this is easier than you thought. It's not rocket science. So yeah, I got into real estate. I said, I'm gonna work with the lowest income people I can find. Because nobody wanna help these people. The first thing they're like, oh, it's gonna be a waste of time driving around. When people see me, they're like, why you always wear a suit? You're selling $1 million house. I'm like, no, I'm, I'm selling $50,000 house, 200,000. But the joy I get in doing it is more than the money. Seriously, yeah.
So you found your passion then in the industry.
Yes.
What you seek to do.
And to be honest, the passion is continue to help people. That's what gives me joy. When I give a family their kids and they're like, oh, I didn't know that was possible. Thank you so much. I'm like, you don't even have to thank me. You did all the work. I just show you how to like get to that point, you know? Yeah.
That's awesome. I appreciate you sharing that. For me, my position, I'm always like, you want to find the easiest things to do, and
Right.
it really is, in my mind, difficult to serve that type of a client. But
Right.
everyone needs that. So
Yes.
for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, tell me, what's a common misconception about either you or what you do? What's something that people are always misunderstanding?
People always say you have too much time. You don't have a schedule. But yeah, that's a misconception. Like even if I'm at home, I'm always working. I have my laptop, calling people. I have clients I work with for like a year straight because I'm trying to repair the credit, make sure they're not buying stuff they're not supposed to buy. I'm always on the phone. So people always say, oh, come to my house, come help me with this. I'm like, oh man, I wish I had the time. They say, you make your own schedule. I said, I know, but it's still like a busy schedule.
Right.
Even when you see me at home, I said I'm working at home. I'm super busy.
Okay.
So people think I have a lot of time on my hands. I don't. Yeah.
That makes sense. That does. I do hear that a lot. Like, people get into business thinking it's freedom, right?
Right.
When it's a lot of work. It's a lot of
To be honest, I thought that too. I'm like, oh, I can make my own schedule. That's gonna be great. No.
So what have you done to alter your mind on that and to be better at scheduling?
I think this is like a battle, trying to figure out the balance between, hey, you need to take some time for yourself and some time for your business. My excuse, I said excuse, because my daughter always get on me, oh, Dad, can we do this? I said, hey, my business is not where it needs to be yet. So I need to continue to work hard on it. But I think I still need to like find the time for the family and that, because that's super important too. It wouldn't make sense I'm become successful at real estate and I neglected my family. It's yeah, that wouldn't make sense. But yeah, I try. I'm getting better at it to be honest. Like I try every weekend, at least on Sunday I don't have anything scheduled. So we can go to church, do something with the family, like that. But sometimes it get busy on Sunday too.
I hear you. That's cool. Staying grounded, just
Right.
keeping. I appreciate that. Tell me, thinking about through your life and thinking about maybe something you can teach your kids. What is something you would redo,
Like growing up.
or anything? Just something you redo in general. Not necessarily a mistake, but
Okay.
something you redo.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything I'll do over. Special, and I was just telling my cousin that he's like, hey, how do you negotiate these deals? Like, there's so many offers and you always win them. And I tell him, I'm so grateful I grew up in a third world country, because growing up in Haiti, whatever is on that box, the price that's on that box, nobody paying it. they're gonna negotiate it down. Yeah. My dad and my mom, they have different style in negotiating. My mom, she will negotiate down to the penny. My dad, he will negotiate it and still pay overprice because like I need to help them. So the thing will be like $5. He'll be like, no, I can only give you 3. And they're like, okay. And he give them 6. I'm like, why did you even spend the time negotiating if you know you're gonna give them more money? He's like, no, because they need the money. These people doing that not because they want to, but it's more like of a necessity for them. So, yeah, so that's one thing I appreciate. I wouldn't change anything really. Yeah, because everything I went through and everything I learned from growing up, they make me what I am today. Yeah.
Wow, appreciate that. Thank
Yeah.
you. Tell me, like your favorite book. What would that be? Something that touched you
Right.
and made you changed you. What book would that be?
So there's this book by T.D. Jakes called Instincts.
Okay.
So I read this book like 2 years ago. When I first saw it, I'm like, at the time I was going through a divorce, and I'm like, man, I need something to just take my mind somewhere else. And this book completely changed my life. When I pick it up, and it was on sale too, I don't know why. I pick it up, I'm like, oh, I'll read that because I love listening to T.D. Jakes. But this book talk about, hey, you always follow your instinct, trust your instincts. Because even though you're afraid to do something, if your instinct tell you, hey, this is where you need to go, this is what you need to do, you need to trust that. Because your instinct is that thing inside you that you know you can do it. But all these fears, all these things behind in your mind telling you, hey, no, if you do that, this gonna happen, that gonna happen. But your instincts, that's what keep telling you, hey, don't give up, keep trying. It might be tomorrow your breakthrough, keep doing it. So yeah, that book definitely changed my life. And interestingly enough, after I got divorced, I have a daughter. So I was like, man, I should definitely try and get back with my ex-wife because of my daughter, because she's not happy about the whole thing. And my parents been married for like 35, 37 years. And I'm like, I want that for my daughter.
Right.
And in the book, there's a chapter in there that talking about failed marriage. And he's like, what is the reason this happened? Is it because you feel like you're not good enough? Or is it because you feel like, hey, I need something better? But what was the first reason you got into it? So I'm thinking about it. It's like, don't be afraid to ask for forgiveness and try to work on it again. That's your instinct that's telling you that. Hey, she's gonna say no like a million times, but your instinct is not wrong. It want you to try this again. And I tried it. And 3 years later, we are back together, man.
Oh man,
Yeah.
that is an awesome story,
Yeah.
dude. That's pretty cool.
And that's why I love this book, man. Yeah.
That's cool. That's great. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's one of those things that's hard to do is trust the gut, right? Trust and do something crazy.
Right.
Tell me, what is something that's crazy that you've ever done that you're just like, man, that was crazy, or that's happened to you?
Let's see. When I was 18, we were living in Haiti and government stuff. There was a coup in the government. Yeah. So I told my dad, hey, I think I want to move to Jamaica. And he's like, no, if you guys move to Jamaica, I don't have a way to support you over there. You have to get a house. We said, Dad, we're going to do it. Because we feel like it's going to be better for us. Because people dying here, we cannot go to school, cannot go to university. So my dad said, all right. And when we left, we didn't make any plans. So we left, we didn't have a place to stay. We didn't have any family there. And me and my brothers, 5 of my brothers, we moved there and ended up living in a van, which was not our van. It's a church van, and we tell them, oh, we can help you guys take the kids to church and drop them home. And we'll be like, and we can keep the van. But in reality, that's where we were gonna live. So yeah, I moved to Jamaica, and my brother ended up finding a really great job. We got a house. But at the time when we were moving, I'm in the airplane. I'm like, who's gonna pick us up at the airport? Where are we going to go?
Wow.
And my brother was like, yo, we'll figure it out, man. We'll figure it out. And from there, I went to school with no money. First 2 semester, they come to my class because in the Caribbean, if you don't pay, you go home.
Yeah.
There's no second chance. Come to my class every day, call my name and be like, hey, Mr. Bernabe, your dues, you still haven't paid, and everybody looking at you. And you're like, hey, I'm just trying to make it through the year, so because I know I didn't have the money to pay, and I'm not about to call my parents. I know how hard they work, and they have such big responsibility back home. We didn't want to worry them about it. I think still to this day they don't know what happened.
Wow.
Yeah, but then yeah, everything worked out. I get a job. We all get good jobs. Then I end up meeting my wife and end up get a job offer to move here.
Okay.
And I don't know how they even find me. I'm like, yeah, but yeah, it was a crazy experience, and I wouldn't change that either.
Awesome.
I would have done it again. Yeah.
Awesome. Appreciate you sharing that. Tell me, well, what's the most proud thing that, or you're proud of, the thing that you're most proud of?
This is gonna sound cliche, but my daughter, man.
Awesome.
My daughter is so smart, and before I had my daughter, man, I mean, I was young. I was like 23. For me, it was just living life. Like there was no plan. No drive. But having my daughter, that changed everything. And this little child is so smart, man. Like sometimes I'm writing myself. I'm like, how do you spell that? And she's like, Dad, I'm 7. Why are you asking me? And she will tell me. She actually knows. And yeah, and she recently tested for like gifted, and she was one of the gifted kids in her class. And I'm like, how did I create this? It's not me because I'm not that person. But yeah, I'm so proud of her. That's my yeah. Everything I do, it's for her because I want her to grow up and same thing my parents did. Because every time I look at my mom and dad, I'm like, yo, I just want to be like them or better. Yeah, and I want that for her. So, yeah.
Well, great. Hey, I appreciate you. Appreciate you sharing that with us and being here with us.
Right.
It's great stories, and just wanted to thank you.
All right, awesome, man.
Appreciate
And
it.
hopefully we can do this again.
We'll
Yeah.
look forward to it.
All right,
Thank you.
awesome.